Hello everybody. I thought I would share with you today this book, Sun-Tzu, The Art of War. You have heard it probably mentioned many times, quoted many times. It's not a very long book, but it's a master book. It's not only for war. It's used for business, it's used for sports, it's used for a number of things. It's about how to win, how to defeat your adversary, basically. Okay, and it's in little snippets of just sayings. The blurb here at the back is for more than 2,000 years, Sun-Tzu, The Art of War, has provided leaders with profound insights into the use of skill, tactics, psychology, and discipline to outwit opponents. Said to have inspired Napoleon and used by Mao Zedong and General Douglas MacArthur, as well as many famous business gurus, politicians, and sports stars. Its ancient words of wisdom provide a touchstone for today's managers and executives fighting their own boardroom battles. So it's not just for war, but he was talking about basically that, how to defeat your opponent. He was talking about war, but you can use it for just about anything. Look, the way of war is a way of deception. When able, feign inability. When deploying troops, appear not to be. When near, appear far. When far, appear near. Lure with bait. False flag, I think. Strike with chaos. In other words, create division, I think. Anyway, I'll just read it. I don't want to put my own interpretations into it. You do your own. If the enemy is full, be prepared. If strong, avoid him. So it's okay to retreat sometimes, isn't it? Okay. If he is angry, disconcert him. If he is weak, stir him to pride. If he is relaxed, hurry him. If his men are harmonious, split them. Yeah, division in society, isn't it? Attack where he is unprepared. Appear where you are unexpected. This is victory in warfare. It cannot be divulged in advance. Okay, let's go to waging war. Waging war, okay. Without a full understanding of the harm caused by war, it is impossible to understand the most profitable way of conducting it. Treat prisoners of war kindly and care for them. Use victory over the enemy to enhance your own strength. Use victory to enhance your own strength. Which, thinking about it, is not what the United States did when the Soviet Union collapsed, I think. Okay, strategic offensive. Each chapter starts with Master Sun said. Master Sun said, in war, better take a state intact than destroy it. Not what we did in Iraq, Syria, Libya, etc. Okay, better take an army, a regiment, a detachment, a company intact than destroy them. Ultimate excellence lies not in winning every battle, but in defeating the enemy without ever fighting, if possible. The highest form of warfare is to attack strategy itself. The next, to attack alliances. The next, to attack armies. The lowest form of war is to attack cities. Siege warfare is a last resort. The general who cannot master his anger orders his troops out like ants, sending 1 in 3 to their deaths, without taking the city. This is the calamity of siege warfare. The skillful strategist defeats the enemy without doing battle, captures the city without laying siege, overthrows the enemy's state without protracted war. In war, with forces 10 to the enemy's 1, surround him. With forces 10 to the enemy's 1, surround him. With 5 to the enemy's 1, attack him. With 2 to the enemy's 1, split in half. If equally matched, fight it out. If fewer in number, lay low. If weaker, escape. Small force obstinately fighting will be captured by a larger force. The general is the prop of the nation. When the prop is solid, the nation is strong. When the prop is flawed, the nation is weak. A ruler can bring misfortune upon his troops in 3 ways. Ordering them to advance or to retreat when they should not is called hobbling the army. Hobbling the army. Walking lamely. Hobbling the army, okay. Ignorant interference in military decisions confuses officers and men. Ignorant meddling in military appointments perplexes officers and men. When an army is confused and perplexed, the feudal princes will cause trouble. This creates chaos in the ranks and gives away victory. There are 5 essentials for victory. Know when to fight and when not to fight. Understand how to deploy large and small numbers. Have officers and men who share a single will. Be ready for the unexpected. Have a capable general unhampered by his sovereign. These 5 point the way to victory. Hence the saying, know the enemy, know yourself, and victory is never in doubt, not in 100 battles. He who knows self but not the enemy will suffer 1 defeat for every victory. He who knows neither self nor enemy will fail in every battle. The victorious army is victorious first and seeks battle later. The defeated army does battle first and seeks victory later. Okay, I'm just going through a few that I have. The warrior skilled at stirring the enemy provides a visible form, and the enemy is sure to come. He proffers the bait, and the enemy is sure to take it. He causes the enemy to make a move and awaits him with full force. The skillful warrior attacks so that the enemy cannot defend. He defends so that the enemy cannot attack. If I do not wish to engage, I can hold my ground with nothing more than a line drawn around it. The enemy cannot engage me in combat. I distract him in a different direction. His form is visible, but I am formless. I am concentrated. He is divided. I am concentrated into one. He is divided into 10. I am 10 to his 1, many against his few. Attack few with many, and my opponent will be weak. The place I intend to attack must not be known. If it is unknown, the enemy will have to reinforce many places. The enemy will reinforce many places, but I shall attack few. By reinforcing his vanguard, he weakens his rear. By reinforcing his rear, he weakens his vanguard. By reinforcing his right flank, he weakens his left. By reinforcing his left, he weakens his right. By reinforcing every part, he weakens every part. If we know the place and the day of the battle, then we can engage even after a march of hundreds of miles. But if neither day nor place is known, then left cannot help right, right cannot help left, vanguard cannot help rear, rear cannot help vanguard. It is still worse if the troops are separated by a dozen miles or even by a mile or two. The enemy may be many, but we can prevent an engagement. Scrutinize him, know the flaws in his plans, rouse him, discover the springs of his actions. Victorious campaigns are unrepeatable. They take form in response to the infinite varieties of circumstance. Military dispositions take form like water. Water shuns the high and hastens to the low. War shuns the strong and attacks the weak. Water shapes its current from the lie of the land. The warrior shapes his victory from the dynamic of the enemy. War has no constant dynamic. Water has no constant form. Supreme military skill lies in deriving victory from the changing circumstances of the enemy. Now, the chapter on the Fray. Wherein thing, your enemy, I suppose, the Fray, okay. War is founded on deception. Movement is determined by advantage. Division and unity are its elements of change. Be rushing as a wind, be stately as a forest, be ravaging as a fire, be still as a mountain, be inscrutable at night, be swift as thunder of lightning. Be swift. I remember someone told me of a documentary that they had watched about during the Vietnam War. They were interviewing some Vietnamese, and they were so, apparently the people they were interviewing, they were so surprised that the Americans were so heavy. They were not quick and swift. They thought that they were like I think they said hippopotamus or something like that. They said because they were so quick, moving so agile, and they said we could actually smell their aftershave for miles. Anyway, be inscrutable as night, be swift as thunder or lightning. With the army focused, the brave will not advance alone, nor will the fearful retreat alone. This is the art of managing many. In night fighting, use torches and drums. In daylight, use banners and flags, so as to transform the ears and eyes of the troops. A whole fighting force can be robbed of its spirit. A general can be robbed of his presence of mind. The soldier's spirit is keenest in the morning. By noon it has dulled. By evening he has begun to think of home. The skillful warrior avoids the king's spirit. The king spirit, you want to go spirited, I suppose, yes. Avoids the king spirit, attacks the dull and the homesick. This is mastery of spirit. He confronts chaos with discipline. He treats tumult with calm. This is mastery of mind. He meets distance with closeness. He meets exhaustion with ease. He meets hunger with plenty. This is mastery of strength. He does not intercept well-ordered banners. He does not attack a perfect formation. This is mastery of change. Goodness. The 9 changes. Master Sun said, in war, the general receives orders from his sovereign, then assembles troops and forms an army. On intractable terrain, do not encamp. On crossroad terrain, join forces with allies. On dire terrain, do not linger. On enclosed terrain, make strategic plans. On death terrain, do battle. He's going to explain what all these terrains are. There are roads not to take. There are armies not to attack. There are towns not to besiege. There are terrains not to contest. There are rulers' orders not to obey. The wise leader in his deliberations always blends consideration of gain and harm. By tempering thoughts of gain, he can accomplish his goal. By tempering thoughts of harm, he can extricate himself from calamity. He reduces the feudal lords to submission by causing them harm. He wears them down by keeping them constantly occupied. He precipitates them with thoughts of gain. The skillful warrior does not rely on the enemy's not coming, but on his own preparedness. He does not rely on the enemy's not attacking, but on his own impregnability. There are 5 pitfalls for a general. Recklessness, leading to destruction. Cowardice, leading to capture. A hot temper, prone to provocation. A delicacy of honor, tending to shame. A concern for his men, leading to trouble. These 5 excesses in a general are the bane of war. If an army is defeated and its general slain, it will surely be because of these 5 perils. They demand the most careful consideration. Okay, just 1 or 2 more. When the enemy is close at hand and makes no move, he is counting on a strong position. If he is at a distance and provokes battle, he wants his opponent to advance. If he is on easy ground, he is luring us. If trees move, he is coming. If there are many screens in the grass, he wants to perplex us. Birds rising in flight are a sign of an ambush. Beasts startled are a sign of surprise attack. Dust high and peaking is a sign of chariots approaching. Dust low and spreading is a sign of infantry approaching. Dust in scattered strands is a sign of firewood being collected. Let me read that again. Dust in scattered strands is a sign of firewoods being collected. Dust in drifting pockets is a sign of an army encamping. Humble words coupled with increased preparations are a sign of impending attack. Humble words coupled with increased preparations are a sign of impending attack. Strong words coupled with an aggressive advance are a sign of impending retreat. Light chariots emerging first on the wings are a sign of battle formation. Words of peace but no treaty are a sign of a plot. Words of peace, okay, Gorbachev, yeah, that they promised him everything. Words of peace but no treaty signed are a sign of a plot. Much running about and soldiers parading are a sign of expectation. Some men advancing and some retreating are a sign of a decoy. Soldiers standing bent on their spears indicate great hunger. Bearers of water drinking first indicate great thirst. An advantage perceived but not acted on indicates utter exhaustion. Birds gather on empty ground. Shouting at night is a sign of fear. Confusion among troops is a sign that the general is not respected. Banners and flags moving are a sign of disorder. If officers are prone to anger, the men become weary. Men whispering together, huddled in small groups, are a sign of disaffection. Let me read that again. Men whispering together, huddled in small groups, are a sign of disaffection. Excessive rewards are a sign of desperation. Excessive punishments are a sign of exhaustion. If a general is by turns tyrannical and in terror of his own men, it is a sign of supreme incompetence. Envoys with words of conciliation desire cessation. In war, numbers are not the issue. It is a question of not attacking too aggressively. Concentrate your strength, assess your enemy, and win the confidence of your men. That is enough. Rashly underestimate your enemy, and you will surely be taken captive. Rashly underestimate your enemy, and you will surely be taken captive. Discipline troops before they are loyal, and they will be refractory and hard to put to good use. Let loyal troops go undisciplined, and they will be altogether useless. Command them with civility, rally them with martial discipline, and you will win their confidence. Consistent and effective orders inspire obedience. Inconsistent and ineffective orders provoke disobedience. When orders are consistent and effective, general and troops enjoy mutual trust. On the forms of terrain. Master Sun said, there are different forms of terrain. accessible terrain, entangling terrain, deadlocked terrain, enclosed terrain, precipitous terrain, and distant terrain. Accessible means that both sides can come and go freely. On accessible terrain, he who occupies high young ground and ensures his line of supplies will fight to advantage. Entangling terrain means that advance is possible, withdrawal hard. On entangling terrain, if the enemy is unprepared, go out and defeat him. But if he is prepared and our move fails, it will be hard to retreat. The outcome will not be to our advantage. On deadlock terrain, deadlock means that neither side finds it advantageous to make a move. On deadlocked terrain, even if our enemy offers a bait, we do not make a move. We lure him out. We retreat. And when half his troops are out, that is our moment to strike. On enclosed terrain, if we occupy it first, we must block it and wait for the enemy. If he occupies it first and blocks it, do not go after him. If he does not block it, then go after him. On precipitous terrain, if we occupy it first, we should hold the young heights and wait for the enemy. If the enemy occupies it first, do not go after him, but entice him out by retreating. Entice him out by retreating. On distant terrain, when strengths are matched, it is hard to provoke battle, and an engagement will not be advantageous. These 6 constitute the way of terrain. It is the general's duty to study them diligently. In war, the following are not natural calamities, but the fault of the general: flight, impotence, decay, collapse, chaos, and rout. If relative strengths are matched, but one army faces another 10 times its size, the outcome is flight. When troops are strong but officers weak, the result is impotence. When officers are strong but troops weak, the result is decay. When superior officers are angry and insubordinate and charge into battle out of resentment, before their general can judge the likelihood of victory, then the outcome is collapse. When the general is weak and lacking in severity, when his orders are not clear, when neither officers nor men have fixed rules and troops are slovenly, the outcome is chaos. When a general misjudges his enemy and sends a lesser force against a larger one, a weaker contingent against a stronger one, when he fails to pick a good vanguard, the outcome is rout. These 6 constitute the way of defeat. It is the general's duty to study them diligently. He who knows this and practices it in battle will surely be victorious. He who does not know it and does not practice it will surely be defeated. If an engagement is sure to bring victory and yet the ruler forbids it, fight. If an engagement is sure to bring defeat and yet the ruler orders it, do not fight. He who advances without seeking fame, who retreats without escaping blame, he whose one aim is to protect his people and serve his Lord, this man is a jewel of the realm. He regards his troops as his children, and they will go with him into the deepest ravine. He regards them as his loved ones, and they will stand by him unto death. If he is generous but cannot command, if he is affectionate but cannot give orders, if he is chaotic and cannot keep order, then his men will be like spoiled children and useless. If we know that our own troops are capable of attacking, but fail to see that the enemy is not vulnerable, we have only half of victory. If we know that the enemy is vulnerable, but fail to see that our own troops are incapable of attacking, we have only half of victory. If we know that the enemy is vulnerable and know that our own troops are capable of attacking, but fail to see that the terrain is unfit for attack, we'll still have only half of victory. The wise warrior, when he moves, is never confused. When he acts, is never at a loss. So it is said, know the enemy, know yourself, and victory is never in doubt, not in 100 battles. No heaven, no earth, and your victory is complete. The 9 kinds of ground. Master Sun said, in war there are 9 kinds of ground: scattering ground, light ground, strategic ground, open ground, crossroad ground, heavy ground, intractable ground, enclosed ground, death ground. When the feudal lords fight on home territory, that is scattering ground. Do not fight. When an army enters enemy territory but not deeply, that is light ground. Do not halt. When the ground offers advantage to either side, that is strategic ground. Do not attack. When each side can come and go freely, that is open ground. Do not block. When the ground borders 3 states and the first to take it has mastery of the empire, that is crossroad ground. Form alliances. When an army enters enemy territory deeply and holds several fortified towns in its rear, that is heavy ground. Plunder. Okay. When an army travels through mountains and forests, cliffs and crags, marshes and fens, hard roads, these are intractable ground. Keep marching. Ground reached through narrow gorges, retreated from by twisting paths, where a smaller force of theirs can strike our larger one, that is enclosed ground. Devise strategies. Ground where mere survival requires a desperate struggle, where without a desperate struggle we perish, that is death ground. Fight. On scattering ground, do not fight. On light ground, do not halt. On strategic ground, do not attack. On open ground, do not block. On crossroad ground, form alliances. On heavy ground, plunder. On intractable ground, keep marching. On enclosed ground, devise stratagems. On death ground, fight. When there was some gain to be had, he made a move. When there was none, he halted. That is the skillful warrior. When there was some gain to be had, he made a move. When there was none, he halted. To the question, how should we confront numerous and well-arrayed poised to attack, my reply is, seize something he cherishes, and he will do your will. Troops in desperate straits know no fear. Where there is no escape, they stand firm. When they have entered deep, they persist. When they see no hope, they fight. They are alert without needing discipline. They act without needing instructions. They are devoted without needing a compact. They are loyal without needing orders. Our men have no excess of worldly goods, and yet they do not disdain wealth. They do not expect to live long, and yet they do not disdain long life. On the day they are ordered into battle, they sit up and weep, wetting their clothes with their tears. They lie down and weep, wetting their cheeks. But throw them where there is no escape, and they will fight with the courage of the heroes Zhou and Gui. The skillful warrior deploys his troops like the Shuairan snake found on Mount Heng. Strike its head, and the tail lashes back. Strike its tail, and the head fights back. Strike its belly, and both head and tail will attack you. To the question, can an army be like the Shuairan snake? I reply, yes, it can. Take the men of Wu and the men of Yue. They are enemies, but if they cross a river in the same boat and encounter a wind, they will help each other like right hand and left. Strong and weak both can serve, thanks to the principle of ground. It is the business of the general to be still and inscrutable, to be upright and impartial. He must be able to keep his own troops in ignorance, to deceive their eyes and their ears. He changes his ways and alters his plans to keep the enemy in ignorance. He shifts camp and takes roundabout routes to keep the enemy in the dark. He leads his men into battle like a man climbing a height and kicking away the ladder. He leads them deep into the territory of the feudal lords and releases the trigger. He burns his boats, he breaks his pots. He is like a shepherd driving his sheep this way and that. No one knows where he's going. He assembles his troops and throws them into danger. This is the business of the commander. These things must be studied, the variations of the 9 kinds of ground, the advantages of flexible maneuver, the principles of human nature. The way of invasion is this: deep penetration brings cohesion. Shallow penetration brings scattering. When you leave your own territory and lead your men across the border, you enter dire terrain. When there are lines of communication on all 4 sides, you are on crossroad terrain. When you penetrate deeply, you are on heavy terrain. When you penetrate superficially, you are on light terrain. When there are strongholds to your rear and narrow passes in front, you are on enclosed terrain. When there is no way out, you are on death terrain. It is in the soldier's nature that when surrounded, he resists. When all seems lost, he struggles on. When in danger, he obeys orders. Without knowing the plans of the feudal lords, you cannot form alliances. Without knowing the lie of hills and woods, of cliffs and crags, of marshes and fens, you cannot march. Without using local guides, you cannot exploit the lie of the land. Ignorance of any one of these points is not characteristic of the army of a great king. When the army of a great king attacks a powerful state, he does not allow the enemy to concentrate his forces. He overawes the enemy and undermines his alliances. He does not strive to ally himself with all the other states. He does not foster their power. He pursues his own secret designs, overawing his enemies. Thus he can capture the enemy's cities and destroy the enemy's state. Distribute rewards without undue respect for rules. Publish orders without undue regard for precedent. Deal with a whole army as if it were a single man. Apply them to their task without words of explanation. Confront them with the advantage, but do not explain the danger. Throw them into perilous ground, and they will survive. Plunge them into death ground, and they will live. When a force has fallen into danger, it can snatch victory from defeat. Success in war lies in scrutinizing enemies' intentions and going with them. Focus on the enemy, and from hundreds of miles you can kill their general. This is success through cunning. On the day you decide to attack, close the passes, destroy the tallies, break off intercourse with envoys, be firm in the temple council for the execution of your plans. If the enemy opens the door, rush in. Seize what he holds dear, and secretly contrive an encounter. Attack by fire. Master Sun said, "There are 5 ways to attack by fire. The first is to burn men. The second is to burn supplies. The third is to burn equipment. The fourth is to burn warehouses. The fifth is to burn lines of communication." Attack by fire requires means. The material must be ready. There is a season for making a fire. There are days for lighting a flame. Oh my goodness. All right. In war, know these 5 changes of fire and be vigilant. Fire assists an attack mightily. Water assists an attack powerfully. Water can isolate, but it cannot take away. To win victory, to complete an objective, but not to follow through, is a disastrous waste. Hence the saying, the enlightened ruler considers deeply, the effective general follows through. Never move except for gain. Never deploy except for victory. Never fight except in a crisis. A ruler must never mobilize his men out of anger. A general must never engage battle out of spite. Move if there is gain. Halt if there is no gain. Anger can turn to pleasure. Spite can turn to joy, but a nation destroyed cannot be put back together again. A dead man cannot be brought back to life. So the enlightened ruler is prudent. The effective general is cautious. This is the way to keep a nation at peace and an army intact. And the very last one, I thought it would be interesting because it's on espionage. And this is in the year, 2000, 3000 BC. So Master Sun said, about the kind of spies. Okay. Master Sun said, raising an army of 100,000 men and marching them 300 miles drains the pockets of the common people and the public treasury to the daily sum of 1,000 taels of silver. It causes commotion at home and abroad and sets countless men tramping the highways exhausted. It keeps 700,000 families from their work. Two armies may confront each other for several years for a single decisive battle. It is callous to begrudge the expense of 100 taels of silver for knowledge of the enemy's situation. Such a miser is no commander of men, no support to his lord, no master of victory. Prior information enables wise rulers and worthy generals to move and conquer, brings them success beyond that of the multitude. This information can be obtained from spirits. This information cannot be obtained from spirits. It cannot be deduced by analogy. It cannot be calculated by measurement. It can only be obtained from men, from those who know the enemy's dispositions. There are 5 sorts of spies: local, internal, double, dead, and live. Okay. When these 5 sorts of espionage are in operation, no one knows the way of it. It is called the mysterious skein, entanglement. Coil, yeah. The Lord's treasure. Local spies. Oh, listen to this, listen to this. This is worth listening to. Local spies come from among our enemy's fellow countrymen. Local spies come from among our enemy's fellow countrymen. Internal spies from among our enemy's officials. Oh, okay, so the local spies, ordinary people. Internal spies from among our enemy's officials. Double spies from among our enemy's own spies. Oh, the double agents, yeah. From among our enemy's own spies. Okay. Dead spies are those for whom we deliberately create false information. They then pass it on to the enemy. Live spies are those who return with information. In the whole army, none should be closer to the commander than his spies, none more highly rewarded, none more confidentially treated. Without wisdom it is impossible to employ spies. Without humanity and justice it is impossible to employ spies. Without subtlety and ingenuity it is impossible to ascertain the truth of their reports. Subtlety of subtleties, spies have innumerable uses. If confidential information is prematurely divulged, both spy and recipient must be put to death. In striking an army, in attacking a city, in killing an individual, it is necessary to know beforehand the names of the general and of his attendants, his aides, his doorkeepers, his bodyguards. Our spies must be instructed to discover all of these in detail. Enemy spies come to spy on us, must be sought out, bribed, won over, well accommodated. Then they can be employed as double agents. From the double agent we discover local and internal spies. From the double agent we learn how best to convey misinformation to the enemy. From the double agent we know how and when to use live spies. The ruler must know all 5 of these sorts of spies. This knowledge must come from the double agent, so the double agent must be treated generously. Only the enlightened ruler, the worthy general, can use the highest intelligence for spying, thereby achieving great success. Spies are a key element in warfare. On them depends an army's every move. Well, okay, so that is Sun-Tzu, The Art of War. I hope you're ready. See you soon. Bye-bye.